Hey guys, coming at you with another game of King's Conflict, this time between the Blessed King and the Mage King. These are the most expensive kings in the game and they have very interesting playstyles. The Blessed King is kind of focused on priests and healing cards, so he's going to be trying to buff his own units and keep things alive. The Mage King is just the opposite. He's kind of a storm. He's going to have a lot of lightning, weather, be raining and fogging and just freezing things left and right. So this should be an interesting match between these two. Let's get into it. We're going to start with the blue player's turn here, and he actually has a pretty great opening hand. He's going to move his king and then summon the High Priest. The High Priest can generate Holy Light cards and Smite cards. Holy Light cards can heal anything, including the king, back to full health, and that can really extend the fight. You can also produce the Smite cards, which deal 2 damage to any structure or any servant on the board. That's pretty unique and very, very useful, so the red player is going to need to look out for that. You're going to see the Red King move and strike without mercy. Boom! Lightning Strike. Deals 2 damage to any servant anywhere on the board. That's a common card, so the Mage King can pack up to 3. In addition, he has up to 2 units that can generate more lightning strikes, so that's going to be a pretty deadly and unpredictable hazard for the blue player throughout the game. So it's back to the blue player's turn here after the red player played a Fire Imp, and he drew Convert. Now, Convert is great for using the enemy's servants against them, but not in the immediate future, so he's going to burn that for the 13 gold. He's also going to play his Priests of Pity. Priests of Pity are very unique. They can revive a monster killed that turn at the cost of 1 of their own health. So anything in their own region that's friendly, if it died, it gets brought right back to life at 1 cost of the Priest of Pity's health. The red player you see just placed a Tower of Frost on that right road, and that's going to control that road, that whole lane, for pretty much the whole game. It attacks twice with the fastest attack type and has a 50% chance to freeze, so it's almost impossible to get by. It can be done, but it has to be a pretty strong unit. So the blue player is going to move forward and place the paladins on the road. That's going to be able to move pretty quickly if he doesn't get impeded here. So the red player moved up and passed turn, didn't have a whole lot of gold to mess around with. The blue player just drew a Silver Mine, which gives him the choice between using that Silver Mine or the Blessing in his hand. So he's going to play the Silver Mine to the rear where it's safe and out of combat range, and he'll consider using his Paladin there. After he moves up the Priest for a little bit more territory control, he's going to consider moving his Paladin up to offend on that Fire Imp, but he decides against it because the Fire Imp could always retreat into the protection of the Tower of Frost. So the red player's turn here has 26 gold, 4 cards in hand, and a lit fire. He's in a pretty decent position. He's going to play an air elemental in his own water territory. Air elementals can move through any territory in their charge, so they can move 4 spaces instead of 3. That's a pretty effective unit. He's also going to burn Wild Firestorm for a whopping 28 gold, and that'll give him enough to summon the Mountain Giant in that central region. Mountain Giants are devastating on the Mountain Passes map because they have so much territory to roam through safely and really affect combat. He's going to be a terror for the blue player the remainder of this game. So the blue player starts with 21 gold, a lit fire, and he really needs to burn to find favor so he has enough gold to play around with. There's no immediate opportunity for him to play it anyway, so he might as well get rid of it and open up some opportunities for himself there. This is going to be a critical mistake that the blue player moves, which is to move his priests onto the right road to deny gold to the red player in an attempt of a starvation move, instead of on the left road where he'd be able to use that ability we mentioned earlier where he can revive a unit. Because you see, the Paladin is going to go into combat here with the Fire Imp. Fire Imp is faster but not strong enough to take him out. So the Paladin is going to win that combat, taking out the Fire Imp, but he'll still be in range of that Mountain Giant. So he knows that he is in dire straits. He's not going to use Retribution on his own unit, which again is another mistake. He could force the Mountain Giant to pursue something else instead of him, lest he reflect damage onto himself and kill himself, but he chose against it. He's going to pass his turn here to the red player again. So that combat didn't put the red player in starvation because the fire imp eats 2 food. He didn't even pressure him with a food shortage, so that did not work out in the blue player's favor. The red player is going to do the obvious thing, move in to smite that paladins with 1 blow, and then he's going to move in to start attacking this priest as well with his air elementals. So it's back to the blue player's turn, and he starts with 30 gold, not bad, but he drew a gold mine, which right now is no use to him. He can't play a gold mine in mountains because the opponent has so many mountain dwelling creatures that are able to move around and really destroy things. So he's going to play a blessing on his priest to keep him alive for another turn, and he's going to move him out of range of that air elemental there. You see, he just drew a card for playing the blessing. That's due to the Temple of Wisdom that is up on the top left. And he's going to move his priest down here into the forest where it's inconvenient for the air elemental to follow him. He doesn't want to move him towards his king where the air elemental can kind of get 2 things done at once by pursuing him. He's going to consider retribution on his priest there, but it really wouldn't make sense when the air elemental couldn't knock itself out with its own attack. So he wouldn't defend himself very well by doing that. He'll move his king forward and then pass the turn to the red player. Red player, you see, has 24 gold, a lit fire, and 3 cards in hand. He's going to play Talisman of Might, which increases the attack of that unit, that air elementals, at the end of all of the red player's turns. And that can turn such a fast and multi-terrain unit into a very, very dangerous asset. So the blue player needs to take care of that as soon as possible. The blue player just had a lucky draw and got an Ice Terror. He's going to burn this gold mine that won't do him much good right now. And he's going to play the Ice Terror where it can attack that air elemental and prevent it from killing his own unit, and as well have a chance to end it before it grows any stronger. So he's going to move his priests out of the way up onto the road to deny a little bit of gold to the red player. You can see he's concerned about that Ice Terror as well. Ice Terror has a 50% chance to freeze, and the blue player is really hoping for that right now. He got it. So that air elemental is frozen and won't be able to move and offend this turn. You can see the blue player is excited. So the red player is going to move his mountain giants into the mountain there. He's also going to burn an earth elemental and then play a gold mine in that mountain range. So that's going to possess that mountain range and generate gold, giving him plenty of currency to fuel his army for the rest of this game. It's very well defended with a mountain giant in that range there. The blue player, seeing that, has an Ice Terror that can attack 3 times per turn, so he's going to try to find a way to pressure that mountain giant into giving up the gold mine in exchange for its own life. You're going to see that he moves his Ice Terror up. Obviously he wants to attack on that gold mine, kind of force the red player's hand there. He's going to check his gold, and he's going to check his opponent's gold generation. His opponent's making 24 gold as it is, so it won't make a whole lot of difference possessing this road. He's going to move back into the forest so he generates a little bit more than 17 himself. He has a lot of expensive cards, and he needs something he can play. The red player strikes mercilessly again. Lightning strikes can happen at any time, that's why they're dangerous. Dealing 2 damage and eliminating that unit down south is going to hurt the blue player's gold generation, and he's going to stop his ability to be very effective with that Ice Terror by possibly reviving him with the priest's ability. He will play Retribution here, and what that does is very critical. The mountain giant can now move in and kill him. However, by taking 2 damage from the Ice Terror and then dealing 8 damage back onto itself from the Retribution, it's going to trade its own life if it chooses to make that attack. Now, because the blue player only has the 1 monster, that's actually going to be helping the red player to make that trade. So he's going to trade units here in the middle, and he's going to be one ahead and have a lot of gold generation in his favor. The blue player drew a Temple of Peace, which is useful for foregoing the opponent's attacks and delaying their offense. He's going to play a Paladins and burn another priest, warrior priest there. And the red player, you can see, is flush with cash. He's going to play that Weather Master, which produces weather cards. Those affect regions in negative ways like fog, rain, snow, basically impeding the opponent and controlling the battlefield. And you can also increase his own effectiveness and the effectiveness of other ice creatures in combat with snow. So that's going to be a pretty big hazard for the blue player. So the blue player here is going to summon a warrior priest. And this is probably a mistake because the warrior priest, part of his benefit is that he's generating blessings, but he really can't afford to play a whole lot of blessings. He can't even afford to play most of the cards in his hand right now, and he doesn't own enough territory to be generating enough gold to do any of that effectively anyway. The red player there, you see, is going to burn Rain of Fire, and that's in order to play a very expensive, very effective Frost Mage. Paired with his other ice creatures, that is deadly. When you have two mages generating snow cards, you're really going to give the opponent a tough time. And that's why this blue player is making the comment. The blue player is going to move his paladin there and make the mistake of playing his priest to the rear. His intention was to have it heal his king should his king start to be assaulted, which you can kind of start to foresee happening. Unfortunately, the priest only heals other servants. It doesn't heal the king if it's in his own region, only other servants in its own region. So that's not going to help him out the way he expected. The red player here is going to move down, freeze this unit, and then play Wild Wolves so we can take him out before he has a chance to respond. Just brutal effectiveness. Very well played, very quick, very aggressive, and it worked out very well. The blue player here drew a Potion of Anger. That's very effective for the Blessed King because he can heal units up after playing it. He's going to play Temple of Peace in that region, preventing attacks and kind of miring the red player's offense just a little bit, hoping that he doesn't have a lot of commands that can thwart him in lieu of attacks. The red player just placed a Tower of Flame next to that, which is going to whittle its health away. Attempting to attack it every turn will reduce its health by 1. The blue player just drew a Hunters and has another Potion of Anger. Well, rather, still has the Potion of Anger, so he's going to use that on his Paladin here to increase its attack to 4. He's going to try to strike out that Tower of Flame before it can eliminate his Tower of Peace. He's trying to keep his defense going as long as he can here. And because his Paladin just took damage from the potion, he's going to heal him back up, get himself up to 5, and also heal his tower in an attempt to save it. So the red player here was lucky enough to generate another freeze card, has plenty of gold. He set the game up well so he can do that. So he's moving in with a unit in the snow with ice attack, which has bonus attack due to that, and he's moving forward to cause some offense there, and he's going to take the paladins out before they have a chance to respond. So very fast, the Mage King. He's making a lot of surgical, precise strikes that happen at just the right time and kind of throw a wrench into the opponent's plans. So the blue player here drew a Stonemason, which right now isn't very useful for him. It's not going to be able to stay alive in the mountains where it would generate walls. Otherwise, that would be a great card to have. He's going to play a Hunters to the rear. You see the enemy is wielding a lot of snow, and this is going to prevent him from dying from starvation. Snow reduces the food generation of a region from 2 to 0, and that would be a great strategy for the Mage King to starve out the Blessed King rather than attack him and whittle him down over time. He's also going to play an Archmage here to attack the Blessed King, which only has an attack power of 1, so he's not going to be able to respond in very effective ways. Unless, of course, he draws a Potion of Anger. So he's going to use that on his Blessed King to increase his attack from 1 to 3, and then play a Blessing on him as well to restore him to 6 health. He'll also move his Hunters in position to take out these Wild Wolves, because every attack that occurs on the Blessed King is that much closer to death. He only takes 1 damage per attack. He'd rather spare himself and possibly buy himself another turn. The red player starts this turn with 42 gold, a lit fire, and 5 cards in hand. He's doing very well. Obviously, he's on the offensive. He's going to choose to freeze this Hunters there, so his ice unit won't be taken out by the ranged unit. And he's going to play a Blessing just to fortify his own unit there. And he's nearly got the Blue King in the bag, but he's going to summon a unit to the rear, pass it on, and the Blue King is going to keep scratching here to see if he can stay alive and make it come back. He drew another Potion of Anger, so all 3 of that common card he drew in this game. And he's going to play the Potion of Anger on his king, bringing his attack force up to 5. That's very, very unusual to see that kind of attack power on this king, though theoretically it could go even higher. And he also played the Blessing there so he would stay alive, and here's his retribution. He's going to get the Archmage. That's sort of his last strike, his revenge, as his opponent closes in here with an obvious way of winning. So that was a hard-earned and long-fought win for the red player. He says, "Finally ground you down. Good game." Thanks for watching, guys. King's Conflict is a free online game you can download at kingsconflict.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr, or check the game out on NDDB or GameJolt. If you'd like to support King's Conflict, you can share it with your friends, contribute online in the forums, or even design and submit maps. Download King's Conflict at kingsconflict.com and play today, guys. Thanks.